At this time, I'd like to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome back Ryan Means. He is from Reliance Network. Reliance is what powers rwtconnect.com and also our website, as well as the site builder websites. Our first class for today, we're going to actually be talking about those site builder websites. We're going to be taking kind of a deep dive and overview into what you get with our site builder websites. Just as a reminder before we get started, if you are not a site builder subscriber, your menus may look a little bit different. The website is tied to a lot of different tools that are on RWT Connect. And if you are missing some of the categories that you see, it just means that you're not a site builder subscriber, and it just means that the website is required to power those other tools. So they're just turned off or hidden just so that we don't have any issues if there isn't a website tied to it. If you are interested in becoming a site builder subscriber and getting a website through the company and using RWT Connect, you can do so by just emailing websupport@rwtown.com. We'll be happy to get that information in the sign-up sheet over to you right away. We usually have those websites turned on within 24 hours, and they are out of the box. Although we're going to be talking a lot about customization today, do know that they are ready to go as soon as we turn it on, and then we can customize it further from there. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this class over to Ryan, and he's going to take you through the site builder websites today. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll go ahead and dive right in. And this is probably one of my favorite subjects with relation to the Reliance system and with rwtconnect.com. The websites, there's just so much that you can do with these websites. And I just want to quickly go over two examples that we've got for you. So this is the Mary Agent account, which is one that I was using, that I use for training purposes. And you'll see this is just a looped video playing in the background. That's just a gorgeous beach view, but nice, clean text, very, very clean layout here. Featured properties is just a gorgeous view to it. And then some text, testimonial section, and some calls to action. So, this is a very clean, easy to build site. And then there's one that's a little bit more advanced and has a lot of example content for you to check out, which is really incredible. This is one of the biggest things that your web support team has done to support you on your website is they've pre-built out a ton of content that's in what we call a company shared content section. So all of you can take advantage of that on your website. But you'll see they've also done some advanced stuff up here. They've got a link, instead of it just being a link to a page, it's linked directly to that email address and able to instantly start sending an email using your phone or device's email platform. They also have one up here for Call Me Now, and it could, of course, just show your phone number, and it's going to do the same thing by putting in a specific type of a link. You're able to have these buttons function automatically on all of your devices. Again, another video, but this one's a little bit more in-depth and a little bit more specific to the company versus just that looping beach view. And then down to some featured properties. Another text section. This one's actually a Warren Buffett quote, but could have been a testimonial. It's an editable section, so you could put really what you want there. And then again, more calls to action. This one happens to have 4 calls to action, all customizable, all able to say and show what you wanted them to say. And then the final section down here is just some text about the agent themselves. So really just 2 examples of what your site is capable of being. Now, I'm back on rwconnect.com, and everything that we're rwtconnect.com, excuse me, everything that we're going to do from here today is going to live in the navigation. So I'm going to click my navigation at the top left, and then it's all going to be under this site builder heading. And we're really only going to touch on these first 3 sections today, but there's a lot more that you can do in here, including things like save searches, client searches, lead forms that you can add. There's a variety of content, but we are really going to focus on these first 3 sections today. And with that, we're going to dive right into layouts. Now with layouts, we have pre-built through our design team a large quantity of layouts that you can use. And some of these are not necessarily geared towards agents. So for example, the featured properties slideshow, these are really designed for office websites to use, not necessarily an agent. But a lot of these are really just gorgeous layouts that you can use, and you can select any one of these. Now, I want to point out a couple of big things. First and foremost, this says Oregon Coast. Does that mean only people in Oregon should use it? And absolutely not. The name of these layouts doesn't really make a huge difference, except when you see things like video or expanded. The expanded version is this Oregon Coast one, but with additional features. The Monterey video is the Monterey with video available. So really, when you're looking through these, what I recommend you do is ignore the name, hover over the layout itself, and read what's available with that particular layout. So for this one, Monterey video, we have a custom background image. That's this beautiful beach you're seeing. Or you can change that to a hero background video. So you can have a video playing there instead of just a static image. You also have a hero mobile image, so you can set a different image for people that are viewing from their desktop versus people viewing from their mobile phone, which is huge if you're going to include things like text in that image. It can be really hard to have that scale down from a desktop to a mobile device and still look great. It's got editable hero text. That's the text you see on that background in the middle. Some calls to action with editable text areas with images, 7 different community tiles, 4 different featured properties, and a testimonial section. So again, when you're looking through these, it's really important just to look at what's available and think about what are you trying to showcase on your website. Some of these have sections that can be hidden or shown, so you don't have to use everything. Maybe you don't have 5 calls to action, but you like everything else about this particular layout. Well, you can hide some of those calls to action as well. Now, any of these layouts, when you select it, it does not go live on your website. So if I wanted to make a change and pick any one of these, when I click preview, it's going to give me a larger preview of it that I can actually kind of scroll through and get an idea of what that page looks like and how it's going to end up. But it's not doing anything to my site until I actually publish this layout. So I could select any one of these and edit it, and no one is going to see the difference. Now, I don't want to make a change to my website layout. I actually really like the layout that I have currently. So I'm not going to select a layout at this point. I'm going to go back to my navigation to Site Builder, and I'm going to go to the Site Editor. Now, once you've picked a layout, the layout is really just the overall style of the page. What all features do I have? Where does text show up? Once you've selected one, you're going to be in the Site Editor actually making changes to that layout. Now, in the Site Editor, on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see 3 sections. The first is your website settings. These are going to be things like third-party scripts. If you want to do Google Analytics tracking of your own website and your traffic, you can embed Google Analytics scripts into the header of your website. You can also add them to the body and the footer, wherever these scripts might need to go. That could also be a meta pixel if you use the Facebook platform and want to have their tracking embedded in here. It could be other scripts that you need. So if you have a script for your website, this is really the section it's going to be in. You can also turn on Google Translate. It is off by default, but you can turn that on. If you turn that on, it just adds a little toggle on your website that allows people to automatically translate your website to other languages using the Google Translate feature. It's not guaranteed 100% accurate. It is just a Google Translate. So some things may not translate as well, but it is automatic and available for your website. Now, the homepage section on the left is really where you're going to do your customization. We do have SEO settings for everyone's website, and so you can add a meta title, a meta description, and meta keywords. You can also add what are called OG title, description, and an OG image. OG is for Open Graph, but really what you want to know about OG is this is what you're going to see when you share it to Facebook or to LinkedIn or to some other social media. Sometimes this is also what you'll see when you share these via a text message and you pop up that image of the link in the texting. That's what they're going to see, is this OG image. So you can actually select what people will see when it's shared to these social media platforms by using this section. And it's really recommended that you fill out some information into this SEO, especially at least the title and description. Those are used very heavily by Google, and it's what's going to show up when someone searches you on Google. Next, this particular layout includes some color option. I've got a kind of a burgundy color there. And if I scroll through, oh, it's at the bottom. So that's my color. Different layouts affect different sections based on those colors, and some might have additional colors that you can use. This is a color picker, so I can actually come in here and say, I really like the blue of this sky. I could come over and I could click on whatever color I wanted, and that would then change my color down here at the bottom. I could also use the RGB, or I could change that over to HSL or a hex color if you actually know the hex code for the color you're trying to use. My hero section, this is this text up here, find your next home, and Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. These are what we would call our basic text editor. You have the ability to pick a few different fonts, but it's not a full list of fonts. You don't have everything you'd have on your computer. You have the ability to change the font size, bold, italic, underline. You can even do text color if you wanted to do so. But there's not a whole lot of additional formatting in this section. You can still add a link if you wanted to have one of these hyperlink to another page. And then we do have what are called website tokens. Now, website tokens are a quick way for you to automate putting in specific information. That could be your agent information, different company information, or even your office. Or if you're a member of a team, you can have team information automatically, dynamically show up on your website. Now, I don't typically use that for just an individual agent website, except for things like maybe my phone or my email address, something that might one day change, or even my licensed title, something that could change on my profile. If I use my agent.licensed title and I change my title later on, my website automatically updates to show the new title. So it's a quick way that you can actually personalize the site without having to remember to come back and make those changes later. The hero image section is pretty obvious. We're going to have a hero image button that I'm able to then select from an image library. Now, we have a stock image library with thousands of photos in it. I believe it was 20,000 photos the last time I was told. It's a very, very large number of photos. I don't want to scroll through this to find what I'm looking for. Luckily, we recently added this search feature. So now I can search by the category name or by any of the text that my team has used to label each of these images. So if I'm looking for, say, a beach, I can type in beach and I will find a large variety of different beach photos available for me to use. And I can use any of these royalty free. We have paid for this for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Any of these images are available to you instantly. There's also a company images section. And as you can see, your company has added a variety of different images here as well. And all of those are also searchable. There is a search feature at the top. So if there's something specific that you're looking for, you can search there as well. You all also get a My Agents or My Images section. Here you have the ability to upload your own image. When you are doing this, there's a couple things to keep in mind. If you're doing this for a hero image, we recommend very large images, 3,000 pixel width. If it's going to be emailed, much smaller is fine. But since we're talking about our website, you really want these large, wide photos. You're going to choose the file and give it a description. That description is the alt tag that's going to show if I hover over the image on your website. It's also the keywords that I can search for when I'm searching images. So make sure you give it a really good description. Actually describe what's in the photo. It's going to be better for SEO, but it is also better for you when you're trying to find these later on. You'll give it a category. This one's got agent photos as the category. I could create a new category if I wanted. And then the number one thing to make sure that you pay attention to is this section here. This is letting you know that we cannot check whether or not the image you uploaded is something you own. Make sure you have the rights to be able to use that photo on a business website before you upload it here. Otherwise, there could be potential damages and losses. We don't want to incur any of those. You don't want to incur any of those. So make sure that you download these from a reputable site where you've paid to have the license for that, or you took the image yourself. I don't want to put an image here though, because I've got this beautiful background video that I'm going to keep. So that's going to be the Hero video section. But before I do that, I do want to talk about the Hero mobile image. On mobile, your video is not going to play. We don't play the video. We don't show the video on a mobile device because we want to have those load as fast as possible, and video will slow that down a little bit. So every time it's going to go to this Hero mobile image. So you want to make sure that you select an image that's going to look good on mobile. Well, how do I know what mobile is going to look like? We have these 3 previews at the top of the page for you. The first one is, of course, the desktop view. The second one is going to be a tablet view if you're looking at it on, say, an iPad or an Android tablet. And the last one is that mobile preview. So if I click there, I can actually see what it's going to look like right now. I've got this nice looking red barn, which may or may not fit your market, may or may not fit your personality or your website. And so you might want to change that. Well, again, it's the same process. Hero mobile image. You're just going to be picking from the same list of images. Now, these images are landscape, and of course on a phone it's going to be portrait. So remember that it's going to squeeze this in, and I'm only going to be looking at kind of this middle section. I'm a big fan of beach scenes, so I'm going to find a nice beach. Haven't been to the beach in a little while. I'm dreaming of it, so we'll go with this one here. Looks kind of nice. I'm going to go with the first one, and I'll just select that image. And I've now replaced that mobile image. So if I click on my mobile preview, it's going to update. And there's that beautiful beach. And I absolutely love that. I think it looks fantastic. I'm good with my mobile image. I'll close that section. And up after video, well, we've got our video section. We do by default work with YouTube and Vimeo links. You can use other links as well, other embed codes, and it will potentially work. But we do know that YouTube and Vimeo will work here. So if you use a different platform to host it and you have any issues, reach out to your web support team. If they're unable to assist you, they can get in touch with us and try and get that corrected. You'll notice some code at the end of this URL. Loop equals 1, autoplay equals 1, mute equals 1, index equals 0. These are things that can help you ensure that the video loops, that the video autoplays as soon as someone gets to your website. It must be muted in order for it to autoplay. It will not allow it to play by default if it is not muted. If you need any assistance, this embed video guide will help you with this. It talks about adding the playlist, adding a loop, doing the autoplay and the mute, allows you to really make that happen pretty quick and easy. Now, if you do use Vimeo, which is personally my preferred platform, it's what I've used for a while, all you have to do is select background equals 1, and Vimeo knows autoplay, loop, mute. It automatically does all 3 for you. So it's a little bit less code that you have to do with Vimeo, but both should work. I forgot to mention, but that section can be hidden. If I don't want to show video, I want to show that Hero mobile image or the Hero desktop image, I need to hide this section. So if I flip that switch, you'll see Hero video says hidden, but it didn't change here. The changes I make, sometimes I have to refresh the page before I'm going to actually see that change. So we'll go ahead and do that, refresh real quick. And now you're seeing that red barn that is set in my Hero image instead of seeing my Hero video. So if it says hidden next to the video, you've hidden the video. When it says hide section, that means I want to hide, or it is hidden rather. If I unselect that, it's going to take off hidden next to the Hero video, and then it's going to show me the video. Featured properties, you can name this whatever you want. By default, it's going to say, at least on this one, our featured properties, but that could say my featured properties, my listings, our listings, my team's listings, whatever makes sense for you. Again, this is a basic text editor. You can change it to whatever you wanted. But you also have featured properties settings. And here you can choose whose listings are going to display. By default, we're going to show yours. Or if you're a member of a team, it will show your team's listings here. If you don't have any listings and you've got display my listings selected, it's then going to revert back to my office's listings. So as long as someone in your office has listings, those would show up in your featured property section. If no one in your office has any listings, nothing's going to show here. You're going to have an empty section. If you just want it to show your office's listings, maybe you only have one listing and it's a little lot and it's just not what you want to showcase, you could select my office's listings, and now it's going to show your office's listings based on the settings you select below. You can also say multiple offices, and you could pick from a couple of different offices. Maybe I'm an agent that lists in multiple offices, or I'm a member of multiple offices. I can showcase all of those offices listings on my own website by using the multiple offices option. I could also choose listings where I specify an MLS agent ID. And I'll give you a perfect example of this one. My wife and I are both realtors, but we list everything underneath my name. So if we were to go to my wife's website, she's going to specify listings where she specifies an agent ID, and she would put in my MLS ID here so that it's always going to show my listings on her website. And you can add multiple agent MLS IDs here. So again, if they're a member of multiple offices, multiple MLSs, or if you've got two people that are part of your group that you wanted to showcase listings for, you could do that as well. The last option is the most granular. Here you can actually pick MLS numbers. So I can say this particular listing and that particular listing and some other particular listing, and only those 3 listings will show on my website as long as those listings match my criteria down here. If they don't, they're not going to show up. So I need to make sure that those match. And when those 3 sell, they just fall off of my website because I've only got for sale and pending here. I'm not going to be showcasing any listings. So if you do listings where I specify a listing number, you're going to want to maintain that regularly, or this section could go blank really quickly. Most of us, we're just going to use my listings. Next, what property types do you want to have show up? Some of you may not want every single property type to show on here. Some of us, like me, like to show everything. If I've got a listing, I want it. Coming soon or not? Do you want to only show listings with open houses? Probably not in this case. You can do a price point. You can say only listings above $100,000. That way my little cheap lots that I don't really want to showcase, they're not showing up. I could do that if I wanted. Or if I'm showing my office's listings, I could set this to the average sales price for my market and only show those average homes, the homes that the average consumer is looking for. They're going to be featured on my website homepage. The last option is sort listings by. And we default high to low. That's pretty common in real estate. But I'll tell you, I'm seeing a shift for age, newest to oldest. I want to see that newest listing first. That way, every time there's a new listing, it's the first thing you see on my website. And it keeps my website fresh. If I'm showing price high to low, those listings might not change all that often. But with newest to oldest, every time there's a new listing that matches my criteria and is either mine or my office's or whatever I've selected, it's going to be the first thing shown. You can also do random, and random definitely keeps your website fresh. You're going to always see something different every time someone loads the page, but it can also showcase properties that I may not be interested in, or it may be that someone saw a property and loved it and now they can't find it again. So I don't love random personally, but if you wanted to use it, you could absolutely do so. I'm going to go ahead and leave this newest to oldest and say save and okay. And I've made some changes to my site, but nobody but me can see it. The general public doesn't know I'm playing with my website yet because I haven't published my website. The next section is testimonial, and I mentioned this is really just a text section. It's being used for a testimonial, but this is a manual text section. My newest testimonial is not going to show here by default. I'm going to have to come in here and update this when I want to change it. But again, it's a text section. I can put whatever I wanted. Or if I don't need it, I could hide that section. I don't have to showcase testimonial or any other text in that section. You'll see the next section is hidden. And so there should be a section between resources and testimonial, but it's been hidden. It's a content section. So there's a content background that I could show. There's text, more text, and another image. Well, let's find out what that is. Let's go ahead and unhide it and refresh. And what you'll see is this is actually a large image section. It's got a background image, and then there's another foreground image, and then that actual text. And if I wanted to, I could come in here and I could put a button. I could actually link to a what's my home worth page. I could make that whole section a button by selecting all the text and making that a link. And anyone who clicked on that would then go to my home value page. Now, I have an evaluation call to action down here, so maybe I don't want that one. And so I'm going to go ahead and re-hide that section. But if you wanted to, you could utilize that section. Next up is the resources. This is going to be just some text. I don't know why that scrolled up, sorry. Real estate resources and the text here. And then last but certainly not least are those 3 calls to action. Now you can select which of the 6 different options you have, and then you can pick the text that shows up underneath it. Sorry, I didn't mean to change that. You can actually change the text that's going to show up underneath. And then I have the button that's going to be clickable to take me to that call to action. And again, if I wanted, I could hide this section. I don't have to showcase these particular features. The last section I want to talk about is your interior pages. Now, interior pages is basically everything but your home page. Here you can add any page that you want. And we have a large section of different pages. We have lead forms. We even have a page that's just called blank. Blank is going to give you a blank HTML section where you can put in any HTML code that you want, test it out. Not all HTML will work, but most of it will. You can build just about anything you want using that page. There's also much easier pages like text and image that's just going to have text sections and image sections where you can manually add that content. One of my favorite is the mobile contact card. This is a page that's going to have all of your contact info, quick buttons to call, text, go to your website, anything that you want. These are also customizable pages, and they're really, really useful to use. You can also simply add links. So that was actually how on this page here, they did the email address. They created a link that is linked to mail to : the email address. And that's what's showing up here. And if I click that, it's going to be a text, or excuse me, an email. So you can create any page that you want, but that's a fair amount of effort that you might not have to actually go through because your support team has already done this for you. If I go back to my homepage editor, there was one section that I didn't talk about, and that was at the very bottom, navigation/interior pages. Navigation is how you control what's up here at the top of your website. So our areas, I've currently got 4 things in my Our Areas section. I really want to add to that. So I'm going to go edit my navigation. And by default, I'm going to be looking at Mary Agent or my pages, the things I've built for myself. And while there are quite a few in Mary Agent's account, yours may or may not have any or all of these different pages. But I can simply switch from working with Mary Agent's pages to working with the company shared content. And if I go to that and I go down to the SEO section, you'll see that you have a large variety of different market areas that you can instantly add to that page. So I'm just going to select a few of these at random. Obviously, I don't necessarily know what I'm looking at, except Nag's Head and Outer Banks, which are 2 of my favorite places to go on vacation. Now, when I add them to my navigation, they show up at the top. I need to then put them into the section I want. So maybe those are going into my featured communities. I need to click on drop-down items and then drag these into that section and drop them down where it says drop-down items. And I can organize these alphabetically. I could organize these by the order I prefer to work in. I can organize them in any way or shape that I want. The big thing to note is while I'm messing with this, nobody sees it until I click Publish Navigation. Now, as soon as I click that Publish Navigation, I'm going to be notified it's been updated. I can come back to my website, and now Featured Communities has those 4 communities underneath it. And, well, it's duplicated the text. I don't love that. I want to fix that. So I'm going to go back here, click on my drop down, select one of these, and change that. Delete the extra text. So you have the ability to change what these say as well. It doesn't have to say Duck, North Carolina real estate. You could say Duck, North Carolina only if I wanted to. It's really entirely up to you how you want that listed. But if it does duplicate your text, this is just a little bug I'm going to get fixed. But if it does that, feel free to delete those, republish. And now when you look at my featured communities, you just see the text once. So very quick and easy to update your navigation with a variety of content. And again, your team has made some really awesome pages for you. I love your back to school pages. I had not seen this before. This was brand new when I was looking at your site, and I just think these are genius. I would have a drop down for back to school, and I would put all of those under it because I think it's useful, at least the ones in the areas I work. I just think it's a really great page. One of the biggest, most important things about having a website as a realtor is having local content. And I don't want to have to go build that local content. It's going to take me a lot of time to build all these pages, but I don't have to because your company has done that for you. So as you can see, there are just tons and tons of pages. Shop local, again, local content that's ready for you to use. I forgot to show you one thing, so I'm going to go back to Site Editor quick. I didn't publish my website. I made all these changes to it, but I never actually published it, so the public is not seeing my changes. So I need to come here and click homepage on the left, and then I can actually publish my website and agree that I really want to do that. And now all of the changes that I made in my editor are live on the public version of my website. But oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I typed something wrong. I put in the wrong picture. It just looks horrible. Whatever the case may be, don't fret. If you come back to your editor, we keep the last 7 versions that you published plus the current version. That looks like more than 7 to me, but we normally keep the last 7 versions of your website, and you can revert back. So I could simply click on this version 29 that was updated last June and say, okay, and all I've done is revert my editor back to that version. It's not public yet. I'm still showing the public my most recent published version, but I can now edit what was on here before, or I can simply republish that to go back to what I had in June of last year before I made the changes today. So it's very, very quick and easy to revert back if you make a mistake. Or I've seen some agents that create seasonal layouts. They have a seasonal one for the spring, summer, fall, and winter. And every quarter they just come in here and change to whichever version they need in order to switch the season. And now your website is seasonal and it takes no effort because you've built it once and you just revert back. The last thing I want to mention quickly under Site Builder is a section called Domain. If you want, you have the ability to purchase your own domain through GoDaddy or some other provider, and then you can add that custom domain to your website. So we have maryagent.com added to this website, and if you simply went to maryagent.com, you're going to end up on maryagent.rwtown.com. And I could add as many as I want. I can even set maryagent.com to be my primary domain. So everyone that goes to either domain ends up on maryagent.com. Now, there are some steps to this. You need to do stuff inside of your registrar, wherever you've purchased your domain. But there are instructions for this, and I'm certain that your web support team can assist with that as well if needed. But just know that you do have the ability to connect your own domain to your website. It doesn't have to be your subdomain that you're provided automatically. And that is your website. If there's any questions that I haven't seen, feel free to ask. See, company library of videos to use. That's a great one. You all do have some on YouTube. That's awesome.
Just wanted to jump in here real quick on that domain manager. So we are really fortunate in the fact that we do have a corporate domain manager. So your site builder website subscription actually comes with one domain. We're happy to purchase that for you on your behalf and manage it. The nice thing about doing that is you'll never forget to renew it because we put it on auto renew. We have had agents who have lost their domains in the past just because they forgot to update their credit card or they didn't get their notification for whatever reason, and then it gets held hostage for many thousands or hundreds of dollars. So we actually do take care of that for you. In addition to that, if you are bringing your own domain, we are happy to do a screen share and help you get those settings up and running to make sure it all gets connected. And in addition, one more thing, if you do want other domains, we are happy to, again, to put those under that corporate GoDaddy account for you. We just do a quick charge of $15 a year. We're just pass that cost directly on to you. But again, that way we can manage those domains for you to just make sure they get renewed, make sure everything is set up correctly. If you have a vanity domain with us, that allows us to be able to manage those email settings for you really easily without having to go back and forth and having to do screen shares and having us log in and do all sorts of stuff into your own domain manager. So we try to make it nice and easy for you, but all of that is built into that system as well. So just as a reminder on that domain manager, we're happy to take care of it for you. We don't expect you to know how to manage domains. So.
And that is a huge benefit. That makes it so much easier. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody have any additional questions on the Reliance websites for this class? Go ahead and just raise your hand or pop it into chat. I didn't see any additional questions just a second ago. I think we're gonna be great. Oh, thanks, Stephanie. We love the updates too. And you know, the nice thing about being with Reliance Network is when we make updates on the corporate website side, we also push all those updates down to you guys onto your agent websites. So you've seen some new enhancements and things like that lately, and we've pushed all that down again to the agent websites as we make changes. How do we get to the company library? As far as the video library, Lewis, would that be the company for the YouTube videos or the images? Or the images, they're the back to school. Okay, that is going to be under that edit navigation tab. And you'll notice that when you're on edit navigation, you'll be able to switch between your pages and then the company pages. And when you go to the company pages, they'll all be listed there. So expand on ideas for creating navigation titles. Sure. Let's go back to navigation.
I'm going to go back to navigation because there's definitely some questions there and I can cover a few more items.
Perfect.
So when I get to edit navigation, this is your navigation manager. The first thing that I didn't really mention is creating a navigation title. So property search, buyer seller resources, our areas, those are all considered a navigation title. And you could name that anything that you wanted. For example, I've got services here. I could add services as a new title. Now, services itself is not a link to go somewhere. That is simply the header. So just like property search or buyer seller resources. And then I could come over here to company pages and I can go into all as the easiest way to find, like back to school, and I could select those pages. So maybe instead of services, this is going to be back to school. And then I would open my drop-down items, make sure you click on that drop-down items or you can't really add to it. And then select the pages you want to add. Scroll down to the bottom and click Add to Navigation. And then simply drag those into this drop-down items section.
So creating the navigation titles is kind of a management of how you want it organized to find things.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Of course. And so now I've got that back to school or the what I had services, but back to school section added, and I can drag that to any order in the navigation that I want. So I could put back to school right after buyer seller before our areas, wherever I really wanted to locate these, I can kind of manage that there. Now you can also have a button at the top that is a button instead of it being a drop down where you see things underneath it. And to do that, you would simply add something. So maybe the at home with diversity and add that and just leave it outside of a drop down item. And that will become its own button at the top versus it being inside of a dropdown. The other thing I didn't showcase is how you remove one. Simply click on it and click the remove button. We'll delete that from your navigation. The last thing I'd mention there is we do have the open in a new tab option. If you're linking to something that's off of your website, if you're linking to an actual school's website or to a school district website or some other external site, we really recommend that you check this open in a new tab button, because that's going to help ensure that people are still on your website. Your website will stay in this tab, and then the new page opens in a new tab. So I like having the back to school option in here, so I'm going to move that. I'm going to move it to the bottom though, and then publish that navigation. And we'll see that has now changed up here. I have my back to school drop down with those in it. Now, go ahead.
Ryan, that background is really, really light for that particular text. Do you mind going and changing that to just a dark photo background, and then people might be able to see that navigation a little bit better?
Sure.
Thanks.
I'll go to my site editor quick. And first, I need to hide my hero video. And second, I would change my hero image to something a little bit darker. Maybe this beautiful moon looks like it might be dark enough at the top. And it's still showing because I haven't refreshed. But I'm just going to go ahead and publish that. And we'll be able to see that live right there. So again, those are your navigation up at the top. And as you add to these, you'll notice contact is now on a second line here. And if I go over to this one here, there's 3 lines. It's just going to continue to stack those. So you can add as many as you want, but just remember that it's going to stack those further and further down and take up more of the kind of headspace on your website. So I like this one's nice and clean, super far at the top, but this has amazing examples of things that you can do. So feel free to check this page out. They've done some really cool stuff.
So just as a reminder, the back to school information and the shop local, if you'll notice that those are all matching those monthly marketing themes. As those monthly marketing themes come out from the marketing department, you'll see that additional digital content be available for you under those company pages, and we'll let you know when that's available. So do keep an eye out for those emails that are coming from the marketing department when we have this local information that matches the monthly postcards that go out and the monthly digital items. You're also going to have these landing pages that are also available to you. These get automatically created when we create that additional content as well. And that's supposed to tie all of your marketing together. So as you're sending out postcards, as you're posting things on social, you'll have a way to point people back to your website. And as we discussed yesterday in some of our classes, this is all about that lead generation funnel. We're just trying to drive people back to the website, making sure that you guys are experts in the business and in our local market. So this all ties together. So as you'll see that content come out. Here we go.
Lots of beautiful homes. And these are reports. These aren't just showing Duck, North Carolina. This is actually going to show you the active, pending, and sold properties, as well as some statistics about those properties on these pages. So these are really, really great content pages. And then they also have the search. So if I wanted to see more properties, I can click this view all results button down here, and it's going to take me to the actual search page where I can just see all of the listings versus seeing it like this on a report. And your clients can all sign up for these reports and get notified on a weekly basis when there's changes to these reports and see all of the beautiful updates to the homes that have come in and what the pricing has done. These are really, really powerful content pages for you, built by your marketing team. So.
All right, did anybody have any additional website questions before we let Ryan go for the day? Well, actually, for the next 15 minutes or so, we'll be back again with another Reliance Network topic here in just a minute or so. All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions, so I'll go ahead and wrap up this class. Hopefully we'll see you guys back again in another 15 minutes or so. We're going to be discussing the client manager in RWT Connect. So we'll be talking all about the different client tabs that are available and all the different tools that are under those. Thank you again for joining us for Reliance websites or site builder websites, and we'll see you again in 15 minutes. Thanks so much.
Thank you.